Okay, it says we're live. Do you see that? Let's see it live. I don't know if you saw that.
I see that.
Top left corner. We got all
Yep.
those eyeballs on us. I'll zero them at the top there.
Yep.
So I should probably start.
Welcome.
Welcome. Yes. Thank you for being here. I shall start by just introducing myself, and then I will pass the mic to you, and you can describe what it is you do and a little background, and we'll go from there. So my name is Adam Wiseman. I run a consultancy called Online Workflow, which is a remote work consultancy that helps businesses find the best way to work remotely. And in this tutorial / live build, I'm going to build with Netanya here, a workspace that she can conduct a lot of facets of her business, so that I want to be able to manage her clients, her tasks for those clients, and then also she can delegate those tasks to other people that she may need to contract things out to. So I will show how you can do all that in Notion. I'm going to start by sort of describing the fundamentals so you can understand how everything kind of works. And then we're going to build a nice space that's customized the way Netanya likes it. But before I get into that, I'm going to pass it over to Netanya and let her describe what it is she does and how awesome she is. Sorry, no pressure.
But Sure. So I'm a copywriter. I've been copywriting for the last 6 years. And 4 months ago, I went freelance. So now I'm working with clients. And at this stage, I'm creating messaging for them, brand storytelling, the copywriting itself, helping with brief creation, creating all the landing pages, how to go forward with their email campaigns and funnels. And I've been using Notion right now to create some of the story before I get writing, so that me and the client are on the client and I are on the same page. And I create a customer avatar there with an image of the kind of customer that they might have and an overview of who they are from a storytelling perspective. And I build out the benefits and the features of what their product or platform does. And then once we're agreed on that, I'm able to use that information and I bring it with me into all the content that I write moving forward. And that's sort of how I've been using Notion in the last little bit as a copywriter.
Amazing. That's so great. And I don't know how you've collaborated with clients on that. Like if they've mentioned anything, if they like what they're doing, or is it kind of just like business as usual? I never kind of know. I guess every client's different in terms of what they would express. But I know just given all the care that you take to make it visually appealing for the client and make it just showing all the work that you do. I don't know if they reciprocate that back. Pardon me, I'm just going to have a sip of water.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Just down the wrong pipe.
Down the wrong pipe. There's never a good time for that to happen, but that really sucked in that moment as I'm trying to get a point across. I wish I could.
Take another drink. Another drink.
I should probably do that. 1 second. Okay, should be good to go until.
And we're back.
We're back. So that's fantastic. And in that time, I've come to you before, and I kind of just, I'm kind of a Notion evangelist, right? I see all the things I can do within it, and part of the reason why we're here today is to sort of show that other people. One of the great and sort of frustrating things about Notion, I think, is that it's really kind of like tabula rasa. It's a blank canvas, and so people see certain things that are done in it, and they go, "Oh, that's neat," or "That's cool," but they don't know what else it can do, and they kind of just sort of limit it to what they've seen it being done, which is fair enough. Like, if you don't know, it's supposed to show it off. So when I see a lot of people sort of talking about it, or just sort of saying, "But you can only do this or that in it," and I'm like, you can do that, but you can do so much more. I realize that you just have to sort of show people what is possible, so they kind of to broaden their horizons and sort of just plant the seed in their head that it's very modular. One of the things that I really, really love about Notion is that it really it adapts with you. Like, if you grow as a business, which I know that you will, like you can build upon that without having to restructure everything. Like, as long as you get some fundamentals down, which we're going to go over today, it's solid and it will grow with you. And I think few products I know of that have that. They kind of, if you hit a certain limit, you kind of box into a corner and you're like, I need to look for a new solution. You got to port things over. And, not that Notion is flawless, but it's really good at doing that. It's really good at just being able to grow with you. And I'm happy to show off what those skills and what that would look like. So with that in mind, should we jump into just sort of the front page of things and go on this journey together?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay. Here. I'm going to go. All right. So this is a little landing page that I built for us, and just sort of rocking our logos together at the top here. I'm actually going to bring this window over here. Yeah, just a sort of basic introduction and to say what we're kind of going to go over today. I should note that everything you see here you can duplicate. If there's any requests from people afterwards, I'm going to also put up a template that they can duplicate in their Notion workspace, and I'll show you how that kind of works later on. But this is sort of the mission statement for this session, which is we're going to go over the key elements you want to include in your professional Notion workspace. I'll show you we'll connect these elements as well as explain some of the key Notion fundamentals that your workspace will be built upon. I'm going to try not to read too much off the screen of the copy here. I'm trying to get better at that, but for now I'm going to start by just stating that. And so, yeah, this is just sort of what Notion can look like. And Netanya and I are both as part of this workspace together. And I will devote a section of this webinar to showing you how you can invite people and assign them things and collaborate and notify. So, yeah, this is, I guess, a kind of a statement that I just mentioned prior to me showing the screen, which is, again, as your company grows, communication and cross-functional collaboration become more complex and more important. So one of Notion's many advantages that you can grow and adapt with your business. And with that in mind, we're kind of going to go over the best practices to start. So those are, what are your pillars of your workflow? So you have your projects, you have the tasks that are related to those projects, you have clients, you have contacts that can be clients or part of organizations or who your contact point is at that company. The contracts that you have with those clients, and then the assets that you probably need to do your job or they need to provide you with and a place. So each of these places we're going to kind of create a workspace for, and then we're going to interlink them all together. And we're going to show you what that looks like. But before I go on, I just want to sort of ask you, Netanya, is there anything here outside of, this is sort of a generalization, obviously, in terms of what people generally do, but I want to make sure that I'm covering all my bases here and asking you if there's anything outside of assets, concepts, contracts, anything you basically see here on the screen that you would say is like, you always go to, like, and maybe we have to think of a name to call it, so to speak, but do all these sort of pillars, like everything you would need would be under these pillars, or do you think there's something here I'm missing?
I think probably a big thing is a calendar that actually has my meetings in it. So I would say more than half the day I'm in meetings with clients.
Right. So calendar aspects. So one of the great things we'll show about Notion is that you have these different views. You can take the data you have in one way, and the default way is like a spreadsheet view. And then you can then change the view to look like a calendar, to look like a Kanban board, to look like just a regular gallery view. And so with that, yes, I agree. Everything kind of functions around a calendar, right? So I would say that I'll show you as we go forward how that calendar view is going to look and how you can plan your days and how you can associate and tag meetings with it as well. So we will get to the calendar for sure. I have not forgotten that, but it's good that you mentioned that because I want to make sure that I'm not going to leave that out. I'm just going to show you how it manifests itself, I guess, in Notion. So calendar, and would you say that's it though? Calendar outside of that, everything here?
I think so, okay. Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Okay, so let's start with sort of like a high level view of like a projects you would have. So I'm going to just close down project here. So the number one rule to understand in Notion is to centralize information within master databases and then create contextual views for accessing that information. So that could be a whole bunch of jargon if you don't know what I'm talking about. So let me just visually show you what that means. So we have what here is a database, and you can create a database, hit enter a few different ways. You can either grab one of these handles. Give it a second. a little sluggish because of the internet connection here. And then you have this option bar, and you can go turn it into, what kind of text. It's a heading, a code. This is sort of what kind of you want the text, or turn the page into, a database. Only because it's sluggish and go forward. Now, they want you to use the / for commands. And one of the great things with Notion is it's very keyboard centric, which I like. I try to minimize my mouse usage. And that comes from me when I was an editor. I'd always try to keep things within a few clicks. So they really kind of try to bring that forward. And so if I hit the / key, probably be a bit ghosty, you'll see a bunch of what you can turn these, they're called blocks into. When I showed you that handle here, this is considered a block. And every time you hit enter, a new block is created. And I'm going to do the / command one more time. It's going to bring up this menu. But instead of you having to scroll through what you want, once you kind of get familiar with the things that you need, you can just start typing the words of what that is. So I'm going to go inline. And as you can see, it's minimizing things down. Let's go back here. Let me think about database. So then automatically it's narrowing things down to the databases, and then it says, well, what kind of database do you want to create? A table, a board, a gallery, a list view, a calendar, again, timeline view, which is like a Gantt chart if you're familiar with that, and they give you little descriptions, whatever have you. So what I've done here is I've already created a table called projects. So I'm going to get outside of this. I'm just going to. So here are our projects. And so we have a project here. It's called a warm-up meeting. And what have we done here? We've the aspects that are important to you. We're going to define the major workflow pillars, which we have done. And then we're going to figure out our objectives and key results. And then we're going to collect assets like logos and other visuals as well. Now, I've gone through this here. So this is the task or the project in this instance. And here are the tasks. Now, this little icon means it's a related database. And to show what that means is that this is its own table of things. Now, we have our tasks here, and we can see what it's related to. This task is for this project. This is the warm-up meeting. We've done it. So as you can see here, they have a few other boxes here. This will show you the progress, and this relates to, this is what's called, this magnifying glass is a lookup field. So when I click on this, it tells me what I want to visualize here. I want to visualize the tasks. I want to show which ones are complete based on the checkbox, and then it's the percentage checked. So as you can see here, all these boxes are checked that are related to warm-up meeting, and that shows the progress is 100. If I was to unselect this box, it would show you 75. And again, if we were to add more tasks to this view, it would then keep on building. Let me just show you what that looks like. Let's say new. Let's just type in a new task. Let's say the project here.
This just in.
This just in, a new task, which happens all the time. You think you know what you have to do and try to establish that with the client. And then sometimes something is born out of the last minute. We also need this or whatever have you. So that's always fun. Here it now, okay, so when you have relationship properties on your table here, if you click into it, it will look for everything that's related to that project. So right here, you see we want this warm-up meeting. And this is the project we're looking for. If you have a lot of projects over time and a lot of things, just like we showed when I did the /, you can start typing to minimize what you're looking for. So you can automatically select, turns to a search bar. But if you saw here now, progress is 80% because we added a new task to the warm-up meeting section, and it's not complete. I click it, it's complete, there you have it. So the more things you add to whatever project you're working on in this instance, you would see a visualization of how complete that is to somebody. So that is what related databases sort of do. Again, they connect to certain things, and then you can also visualize the connection, in this case, again, a percentage bar of how far you are complete those tasks. In a bit, we'll get into just a better sort of visual way. I have a progress bar, which is a lot better looking than just this number here. It sort of pops, it grabs your attention, which again, when you have a bunch of things on the go, you want things to grab your attention and notify you in the best way possible. But before I break for just a question here, I just want to open this up one more time and just show you. So this is a card. Every time you open something inside here, they're considered cards. As you can see, this little open icon comes up. You have open here. And we also have a view, again, of everything top level of what we're doing here. So these are all the tasks, again, related to this meeting. Now we can come in here and we can basically start adding additional information to this, because not every, just because we're associating what tasks belong to that project, we also want maybe an overall view of what that project is all about. And so later on, I will go into show and to build sort of a template. So every time you start a project, all the things that you want in that project that is going to be there. I clicked outside this for a second. If you click outside of it and there's nothing there, it should come up here. Oh, yeah. Oh, so see, this is the templates. This is new project. I'm not going to get into this at this moment. I'm going to go into before. But if you have, a standard of how you always do a project, how you always set up a project, it's always going to have assets. It's always going to have certain copy. It's always going to be to a client. There's other ways we can visualize this. This essentially can become its own homepage for that client. And as things progress with that client, maybe you have more than one project with them in the future. It's still one home where everything lives. So you only have to go to one place as opposed to scramble around for a bunch of things for a client. So it's a really great way to keep organized. So I'll get into this sort of template, but when you have templates, whenever it's a blank page, the options for the template will always be here. So this is called new project, but as I said, I will get into that before. But here we are again, just bring attention to this top part here. We have, again, the progress of this task, this project, what client is it for? I'll get that in a moment. Who do you want to assign it to? So again, if you are, delegating some task to somebody else to help you with something, you can say, so if I click in here, I can say, hey, Netanya, let's click into here. I know Netanya is going to be taking over this task, and then we can notify people about it. There's sort of a philosophy within Notion, and I know that doesn't really exist. Didn't start with Notion, but someone I was learning from with Notion said there's due dates and there's due dates. The date that you want to do something and the day it's done by. So there's sort of safeguards, which I like to implement. So if we clicked on due date, here we have our calendar. Of course, we can have a reminder, and we can say on day of event, we can include a time, just, traditional, very generic calendar-esque features. And then it will notify you as well on when those things are, if you want to have times for reminders. So if I said this is, time of events, tomorrow, such and such, you'll have a little alarm clock, it's there. And we're going to come back to this because I'm going to show you how that's going to sort of play into reminding us that we have things on the go. But I like this sort of due date and to due date, and I'll show you kind of how that looks. And of course, I kind of just jumped ahead because here's a visualization bar of this exact progress here. Now, this can get, as you kind of build your Notion workspace, this can kind of get a bit hairy. Like there could be a bunch of things that can show up here, and you don't always want to see all of these things. So if you come up to the ellipses at the top right here, you basically have the option, as it loads, to customize your page. So I just want to quickly go over this before we move forward, as it takes its time. So you have all your things in your database that you have access to. You can kind of customize how they are seen. So here is that progress bar. And you know what? I already have this other progress bar down here. I want to always hide this, so I don't have to always see this. You can kind of really customize, again, the look, and it's not gone. It's just hidden. So your options are, again, always hide when empty, and then always show. So whatever you choose. And again, even if, as this fades out and takes its time, as you go in here, now this may only work in full page mode. I got to see here. You can also, yeah, it will only work in for. So if you open this as full page, you have, it will take you out of all the distractions, and you can take this. It should work. I know I'm having issues here, obviously. But in theory, sometimes it does. I know it's my computer being sluggish. You can grab these and you can assign them. So this can be at the bottom or whatever order you choose to do. I guess the point I'm trying to drive here is that it's very customizable. So you can choose what you want to see, what you want clients to see, and what is the most important information to you that you want to make sure that you do not miss. So you can spend some time with that. So that is a basic overview of kind of the card. Here we've talked about relationships in regards to this is your project. These are the tasks assigned to that project. Here's how far you are complete to that, because depending on how many of these you check off based on the other view, you can have it there. Now I'm going to also show you how you can kind of bring those checkboxes into here as you go forward. But again, this is just sort of an overview of everything you need to know about this project: the tasks, who it's assigned to, what client it's for, the status, the due and the due date, and how close you are to finishing it. Now, I try to cover a lot of ground here. I want to make sure that I get your voice in here as well, Netanya, and let me know if this is sort of a good encompassing view, or is there something that, again, it's an element that you always want to make sure you have when you're working on a project. I guess it's a deep question, I guess, right? Because I kind of said a lot, but no need to.
Well, I think one of the main elements that I'm using all the time on the side of Notion is I still love to use Google Docs because it's just the most. I still find it to be really nice to collaborate in, and also just to structure my landing pages. And so if I wanted to put in, let's say, like a image, or not an image, but if I wanted to put a link of my Google Doc and have it show a preview of that, would it be possible to do that here?
Yes, it's kind of weird because yes. The answer is mainly yes, and sometimes they're working on some sort of the back end stuff. But let me show you what that process would look like. So there's an actual Google Drive integration. Pardon me, and it makes sense that more people are familiar with Google Drive and Google at large than Notion. So how do you make them work together, which I think is very important. So again, if I do the /, there is a command. If you start typing in Google, you can either embed a map or Google Drive, which everything associated with that is there. So we'll hit enter here. And I already have linked my Gmail account, which is great. You can already associate your account and you have that there. If you don't have an account, you can also embed a direct Google Drive link. So if you have just a document from a client or something where you do not have major access to, you can also embed that here. I should also note that if you had that URL and you copy and paste into here, Notion is smart enough to know that it will give you options and say, do you want to embed this? Do you want to just include it as a bookmark? So you have it there. So you have those options as well. But let me just kind of connect with my Drive. And of course, it's going to load this page. And here's some projects that I worked on. Oh, I clicked out. Let me just say it again. So here's already direct connection with my Drive. And let's take this spreadsheet as an example, right? Like anything would work. Or, let's just have this. No, this one is better. I can't use that for this. So I'm just going to use what that looks like. So there you have a preview of the Drive, or of what that image looks like. And then if you click into it, it will take you to that section. So in one section, one way, it's good that you can still encompass all the Google assets that you have with that client that you want to do. And how I would structure this personally is I would kind of create a little space so it's a little bit better organized than just sort of dropping things in a line here. So if I was to say, for instance, I think a good menu is there's this thing called toggle, which is a toggle list, and you can drop and drag things into the toggle list to organize them. So I said if this was all like Google assets, I know that if I toggle this, everything that I've already linked is going to be in that Google assets sort of drop down for that client. And again, if I know that again, I'm always going to connect in Google assets, like 9 times out of 10 when I'm working with a client, there's going to be some sort of Google integration. Again, I can templatize this, which I'll show you as we go forward, and make sure that every time you start a new project, there'll always be Google assets and all the things that you would, again, what your go-to things are there for you. So again, as you toggle this down, then you saw it here. Now, again, this will take you can't see it, took me off site, but it took me to the document. So in some ways, that's good. You can't yet edit within Notion to the Google page. There, you can see a live view of it, but you can't edit it. I know they are working to change that and to make the integration more seamless, but it's not the end of the world, right? It's still one place it takes you off to that goes directly to the assets that you want to make sure that you connect. So that is a way as well. Do you have any more Google questions that you want to make sure that I cover as well? Or does that kind of answer what you're looking for?
I think that's good. Yeah.
Great.
I think that answers.
Great. Fantastic. I want to make sure again, as I do, because it's one of those things where like I'm very familiar with Notion and I kind of forget sometimes what other people's skill levels are. So I'm always going to make sure that your voice is heard and that, yeah, I'm getting the proper feedback. It's not just the Adam show here. That's what I want.
Although there's nothing wrong with the Adam show.
Well, thank you. I've been living it my whole life. But sometimes I guess it can get a bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too hard on myself here. Okay, so that sort of let's take us. Yeah. So that's sort of, again, the project that we have here. So I've gone a little ahead of myself here. So we've kind of, okay, so what have we accomplished? We've talked about projects. We talked about things that relate to projects like checklists. And you know how that kind of relationship works between two things that are related to each other but are separate. You want them to have their own kind of databases to them, and you can kind of, these are our pillars again. So here's projects. Now, of course, no project is complete without a client that you're working for, and so I just want to sort of show what a client would look like. So here is just sort of a default spreadsheet view of clients, but this is, you know, this is an okay view in certain instances. I like to be able to sort of see things at large, but let's get into views here. And we're going to go talk about your calendar as well in terms of how that would look. And let's show you what that looks like. So even though I've created something here, so you can change your views by, every database has a drop-down menu beside it. And the default view is usually, I guess if you search for linked database, it is going to be this spreadsheet-like view. But if we click down here, we can also then look at that exact same data in different ways. So let's see this as a gallery view. Again, apologies for the sluggishness of the connection here. And we have, again, these are our clients. This is like an overall kind of client view. And we can kind of make it as well where, even though I have these as clients here, and they, you can make it where it's just companies, just individuals. You can really customize things in a way that makes sense. So this is a bit of a mishmash as we're seeing here, because in this instance, I'm using company Miro as an example. Hope they don't mind. And just an example of what that would look like. So this is the client Miro. And here is, we can get the kind of these cards. I should take a step back here. And we can kind of display the sort of basic information on the front of these things as well. So let's type in this fake person named Rachel Balband, who I completely made up. And I got this as a stock image. So this is all legit. But you know,
it kind of looks like someone that I know.
I think that's the great thing about this image, is that everyone kind of knows who this person is, but they don't really know who this person is, you know? So I picked the perfect generic person. So again, for clients, you know, I think of the traditional information I want to know about that client. You know, are they a client of mine? Are they a prospect? Am I onboarding that client, or are they officially a loaded in client that's that I already have? And I'll show you why that I've created this afterwards. You know, what contracts do I have with this client? What projects do I have on the go with this client? And as we saw before with the related databases here, we can name these things anything we want, and then we can kind of start connecting these endpoints for them. So we have all the information of everything that is related to everything. We can easily jump back and forth between. So if I want to go between the contracts, which again, I've created a database for contracts, I can just click in to the contracts tab, and it will take me to just where all my contracts live, regardless of which client they're with. Once again, we have sort of a lineage here of what, you know, a PDF I want to drop in, other attachments, contact numbers, what have you. I'm going to go back here for a second. You know, again, projects, we saw before about that warm-up meeting. Of course, we can create a new project here directly. We can start typing for, you know, new project for Rachel. And we can create a new project. Oh, of course, I got to spell Rachel's name right. Well, I guess just capital. Anyhow, sometimes I get a stickler for spelling. So we can kind of create a new project through here, and it's created a new project for Rachel. So I guess what I want to illustrate here is that even though you can go to those specific databases to create those things, it's bidirectional. So I can create new things for a client, or new projects, and attach them to clients in any way I choose. I don't have to sort of jump around. I can do it right within the card, which is really nice. And here's a task for this client. It's to talk to Rachel about switching from her current plan. This is what we have to do together. Again, here's Rachel's email.
I like that Rachel is still using AOL. Like
I
Rachel
know.
B at AOL.com. Like
Give it
old
the time,
school.
Rachel. Yeah. I,
Yeah, I
I
respect that.
I don't know. I think Rachel should update her dial-up modem here, and I just feel like
Yeah,
actually AOL is way older than what Rachel looks like here, but yeah, that's
yeah.
pretty.
Shout out to AOL, just doing their part. You
The
know,
OG provider. Um,
exactly.
but that's how we can get with Rachel. And you have the ability to also kind of jump into things. If you have a natural email client, if I clicked send email, it will then jump to whatever your email client is and start an email with Rachel with this email address. Same thing with phone number here. I don't know many people call, but if you have like a VoIP setup or you have something through that kind of provider, it's just nice to know that you can, if you wanted to, call someone directly from the page if they have a number that's legit. And then here again, I've kind of have these two databases here that are linked, and I would come up here and I'd customize this, but because we've already established that, I'm not going to do that. So again, here we have a card for Rachel. We can have information, where, we can see where she works in terms of, the contract we have with her. We can also add, again, more places, more information should we want to fill out Rachel's sort of profile, so to speak. So we know everything that we want to know about Rachel, or that we need to know about Rachel. Again, what are we working on for her? What are the tasks that we're working on? What contracts, again, we have, anything of that nature. And when, this is when she was added to the database or when she became a client, you can have that kind of information if you want, which is really nice. One thing I'm not going to go over in this webinar, but I will let you know, is that if you have a spreadsheet of your clients already in like a Google Doc, you can bring those in and easily copy and paste them. You don't have to do them one by one. You have to set the database so all the pillars match on your spreadsheet that are the same. But if you do that, you can just like bulk grab or import CSVs into Notion, which is really handy, again, because I think you're coming from something usually when you're coming to Notion. And so you got to make sure that obviously it works with everything you've already created. And as you just described with, or mentioned with Google Drive, all those things need to be accessible. Otherwise it's really not going to work, right? Like if the effort is too much to get into stuff like this, you're like, I kind of already have something going on. What I like about Notion is that it can seamlessly integrate those things. So you don't have to sort of totally switch gears. And that's nice as well. The last thing I'll mention before I open it up again is that you can kind of customize these cards here. So once again, if you go up to this ellipses and go properties, I can tell it what details I want to show down here. So these checkboxes, for instance, I want there to be a contact number. I want the email to be visible. I want the status of that client. And look, if you look here, if I turn this off, if you look under Salima Huffman, you can see that prospect tab turn on. So you can have all that.
I think it's Selma.
You're right. It is Selma. I had this dyslexic moment and somehow said Salima. Is that even a name, Salima? I don't know.
I mean, Selena is definitely a name. I don't know about Salima.
No, maybe I'll make it a thing. But you're right.
Client, Salima, if you're out there.
Halfway between Selma. Halfway between Salima. So yes. So
Salima
this is just
Gomez.
Salima Gomez. Yes, like great knockoff.
Salima Gomer. It's like slightly off, just a little bit, like. And familiar, but
yeah, and she looks like 90% like Selena Gomez, but ultimately still also has enough difference you can't get sued. So exactly. Yes, so
when people flip the movies on YouTube and stream them and talk about, and you're like, wait, why have I seen this before? But everyone is backwards, and then you realize they just flipped the screen.
That's right.
Apparently that works, and then it's not a trademark issue because it's not the same movie because it's.
That's right. There's always like a cat and mouse thing I found going on with that, right? You'll have like people also like it's very light, like there's some sort of filter on it as well, where it looks like the door is open, like there's light on the screen. Do you notice that as well? So it's backwards, plus it has that, and it's like in the side corner. It's not like a full screen event. You're like, all right, well, I guess we're watching it this way tonight. So yeah.
I always wanted to watch this movie with a slight light filter. Someone was watching with the door open and the sun streaming through. Perfect.
Just like the director intended.
Much better.
Oh, sure, you've seen it in theaters, but have you seen it like this? You haven't really seen it then, have
Yeah,
you?
no. I mean, you haven't really seen it unless you've seen it with the sun streaming in.
That's right. That's right. The ultimate experience. um, bringing back to what we have here, that's funny because it's so true. It's a very good observation about watching things that are flipped backwards to avoid copyright takedowns. Little tidbit.
Exactly.
So we get the idea of everything we can kind of see here in terms of, what information we want to have displayed on the card. So this is that information. And again, I just want to sort of illustrate one more time that this stuff works in multiple different views. So let me put in a funnel view where this is like kind of Kanban mode. Again, apologies for the lagginess. I think it's just sort of me using the system for the first time. Notion isn't generally slow. So here we have again here, I want to filter things by the tags. And so here's prospect, onboarding, and client. And so this is another great way where we kind of see things in a funnel if we're sort of working on things and visualize it in that way. Again, it's the same data. It's not, I didn't have to redo anything. I just get to visualize it in a certain way. And this operates based on tags. So sometimes you can have multiple tags or multiple events. And again, if I come to the ellipses down here, I can go group by, and then it will give me all my options. Now, right now, it only has status because it really works on drop-down selects. There's multi-select and there's single select. And so that is what this would be. And if this was, I call this status, so that's why it's referring to this. But if this was called anything else, it would give us the option to say, okay, we'll organize it by another tag. So again, here I have a client or a client sort of deal flow. There's a great way to visualize it. And again, here's our calendar view where I think it may show something from last month, but here's something now. This is a Notion has two modes. There's like a column width as we're seeing here, which I think is really nice for writing. And then there's like a full width mode. If I was to change those modes, I'll come back to ellipses up here and I would go full width. And I'm only going to mention that now because as we open it up, we can see a little bit more about these cards because calendar view in that mode is a bit sort of scrunched and it's not as visible. But here we have again, this is the calendar view, the same information. This is related. It's looking for that calendar. It's associated with that client. Once again, I can click on this ellipses here. I can go properties and I can say, what do I want to see in this preview card? So I have this date here, but I can easily say, make this date and say, this is when you became on board or first contact, such and such date. Again, whatever you want to do for your project, it's so modular in a way that whatever that date that's important to you. So before, I created a due date and a due date. So if you want to just filter things by one of those or other than those, we can do that as well. Now, while I'm here, I should also mention that we can have multiple views of one calendar with filters. So I created here again, just to show you, there's a spreadsheet view, there's a gallery view, there's a funnel view, or I call the funnel view, it's the Kanban view. There's a calendar view. But what if we want a calendar view that shows two different calendars, like I said? So I can come up here, like anything, you can go duplicate to any of these galleries to start things off. So we have this copy of calendar view. But I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to actually, damn sluggishness, rename this to whatever I want. We know it's a calendar view because it has a little date icon beside it, and go, I don't know, deal, whatever. I always, when I put myself in the spot here, I kind of blank on names.
Yeah,
but deal.
Never think of things on the spot. It's the hardest.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know, something so simple is so complicated.
I can't even think of a time when I couldn't think of a thing on the spot. Like I can't. It's impossible. The brain completely shuts off. Yeah,
it is. I've shut myself up many times doing that, where I have this really great flow going on, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, the name, oh crap, and just things break down.
Yeah.
Story of my life. So we have again. Exactly. So we have these two views here. They're identical, but now because we're in deal view here, I can go around and just mess around with these properties. Like I can come in here and go, okay, well, in this view, I want there to be, I want to see, wait, what projects are connected to these clients. So I should call this project view, but I didn't. I call it deal view because I blanked. So, so as it does there. So now if we go back, so here's deal view, aka project view, and I come back to calendar view, it's not going to show me those things. So it's really great that I can come and I can duplicate versions of data whether it's a calendar mode or whatever version you have, and then specify specifically, maybe some things are assigned to a client, right? Like everything with that client that you want to see in your overall view. Say, for instance, let me come up with a scenario here. You're working on a project, you need to sign it out to a colleague of yours or someone that you want to work on something, and you want them to have access to just that calendar and just that information that they can see. So you can kind of share this calendar, and you can view everything by, say, as I showed you before, how you're working on things, and I tagged you, I assigned you there. You can do that where I can assign someone that and just see every task that person is working on by coming up here, creating a view for that client in this instance, or that colleague, and then making those filters. So just all the things that are related to that colleague again, and just have that colleague's calendar. So I know what that person is working on. I know what that person has done. I know how far that person has come across in their tasks that you've delegated to them. And you can just easily and nicely view all those things through a custom view. So that's kind of what custom views look like in this instance. That's just one scenario. Again, you can come up with so many different scenarios in terms of how you would customize a view and then save that view and how it would be helpful. The last thing I'll say on this calendar view as well is that we have this one thing here. We have a drop-down menu as we've gone between these things, but you could easily create one of these views and then do those relationship databases, which I'll come back to again, and have two views of this calendar. One points to, say, in this instance, calendar view, and the other one primarily shows that deal view. So you don't have to always switch between the two. We can have both two things can exist at the same time, and you can have them side by side if you want to do that. Once again, you've only input the data once. You're just viewing it in different ways, however you feel fit. Do you follow?
I'm trying to think of why I'd want to separate my calendar, because I think if I had a calendar, I would just want to know everything that was going on. Otherwise, it's so easy to miss stuff.
Totally. And I get it. It's not for everybody. The instances that I've seen is specific calendars for specific things. For like, okay, well, these are the things that are in prep mode, and these are the things that are in post mode. Now, again, we have these little tags down here. We can easily kind of create those tags and say, this is in pre-production, or you are working on, give me a copyright task again, like part of, say you're currently writing copy, waiting for review, and then feedback from client. So maybe you want to have two different views of that. I guess in the instance that I also created before, where like if you were tracking a colleague or you were, what's the word I'm looking for here? When you're just delegating work to somebody else. If you outsource something, let's just say called outsource, and you want to keep track on what they are doing or want them to have something, it's nice to be able to sort of see what that looks like independently. But you're right. If you can't think of a reason, you don't have to do that. If you did want to have multiple views of the calendar or two things at once and not have to switch between multiple views every time, you can just link a calendar and then link a database and then just view a calendar. I also have, so here we are again, here's the tasks, here's the clients. I have things where I do a social media schedule with my podcast partner. And so it's all the things that are kind of like, what have you posted on social media? What episodes have been posted? And so again, it's really just like two different databases that I've viewed in different ways. So I can easily sort of go through, depending on what that information is, what's the easiest way for me to visualize it and click on it and get the information I need to know. I'll probably have another webinar about that in the future, about just sort of running a social media calendar. But that's actually a really good example of how you would want to have like multiple views of the same data, just so you can see, like what's on whatever social media channel, what's completed, what's in progress, yada, yada, yada. So I'm going to speed through the next sort of parts here because I want to make sure that we get to the sort of the dashboard aspect, which we didn't get to before. So same deal before we saw with clients. There's contacts. So in my instance here, a contact would be someone who works at the company. You may have this is your touch point at the company. In this case, it's Miro. This is Bobby G. If I open it up, you'd see that information again. This is
very reputable.
Yes. Bobby G is a very above board guy. I don't know if Bobby is watching.
I trust him with all my contracts. Yeah.
Very trustworthy. Don't let the haircut fool you.
I can almost see the sign right here.
That's
Just
that's right.
time and date.
He was booked on this time for who knows what, taken in. Yeah, that brick wall's not doing him any
Yeah,
favors.
yeah. Drunk driving,
Yeah.
New Year's 2021.
Yeah, you look how to put him like this and you can just tell he's up to no good, right?
Yeah.
So in this instance with contacts, I had, here's the company that person works for, what their job title may be at that company, head of sales. You can kind of create obviously anything you want here. You can have multiple things, phone, email, very basic things. Again, the goal here, I guess, with the contacts pillar that I've created here is just sort of, again, these people are kind of like adjacent to clients and the contact points. You want to have a place where you kind of talk about them, or maybe there's some notes that you want to have with it. One thing Notion has as well, similar to, I don't know, like any kind of messaging system, you can kind of collaborate with your clients or your colleagues, I should say, with this sort of message board here and say, hey, is this guy above board? And I went, yeah, above. Like, is he legit? Is this guy legit? Who is Bobby G? Now, I should say, I do have a really good friend.
People are saying these days above board.
Above board, yeah, one of the many ways. I just mentioned, because I'm sure he's going to watch this, but I do have a friend who his name is Bobby, and this is loosely based off him. I do it with love, and I hope that he doesn't mind what I'm doing right now. But we can have this internal board between like colleagues, but things I can tag people. So like once again, using the @ symbol, I can say, start typing your name, and then it will. Here is, I can tag you and I can comment you. And so if we have multiple people are part of our workspace together, we can individually signal them out and message them about something to bring to their attention. So like a regular message board, you have those content, you have those abilities within in Notion. And like everything I showed you before, you can customize this page to take this away if you do not like the visual of this. Great, here's something as well, is resolve it. If you have an issue with this or this task, you can see that you've read it. Go resolve, clears there, one resolve comment. So it's just a nice way to communicate specifically on, obviously in this instance, I've used it for a contact. But if you're in a project, again, this exists in every page. It's nice to be able to sort of talk about things specifically in the room that they're related to, and then check them off, and then know that they are, here's a history of, you can say reopen this ticket for this issue. So that's really nice as well. And again, here's a table view. I can add let's go through one more time here. Let's create a gallery view. And I just want to see that sketchy face one more time. And now Bobby, this is not going to show his picture here because this is actually a thumbnail that we had him as. But if we had him as an attachment or we have him inline in the page, then it will show up in this preview mode here. So before, when we saw with, what's her name, who I butchered? What's her name?
Salima,
right? Not Selena.
Salima.
Yeah, Salima. I got their picture showed up in the card view or the gallery view because they are part of, and you can tell it which you want to do, either an attachment. So if you have a document attachment, it's also a good way to see a sort of overview of the documents you have. Or you can put, if this is the first image that is inside a page, you can tell it to see that content. So that's how we have that there. So that's that. So we get the idea now. Same thing with contracts. Again, we have this bi-directional. We're seeing it. Here's the contract. Here's the client. This is looking to the client's database here. It knows what's attached to. We're connecting and clicking on these things. So whenever something shows up here, it's going to reflect back in the other database that it's connected to. So does that all make sense? Is everything kind of clear at this point in time? Yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So now I'm going to just sort of jump off to, that's sort of a task-based thing we did where, this task is finished. You click it, it tells you the percentage. But a similar philosophy is objectives and key results, which is really popular. And, it comprises of an objective and multiple key results for the objective. So rather than just a task, there could be kind of like an ongoing sort of thing for an overall reaching thing. And in this example, I said, let's say our goal here is to get 20 clients on a retainer, and there's all the tasks that are related to making that possible. So similar to how we have up here with the linked database, I've created another one called key results. So these are the objectives. Here are the key results. And the difference here, though, is that there's a bit of math. Now, Notion has a formula tab. So you can this whole visualization of what this progress is, that's done through a formula. And if you clicked on it, you would basically see what that is. I won't get too deep into that right now because that's its own kind of conversation. But I just want to sort of bring that up because you can get basically where it can read other, just like in Excel, you can read other tables and then make something from that table and then reflect that table. So here we basically want this formula in this instance. It's going to look for the clients. Sorry, it's going to look for the value of what your target is. So we said up here 20 clients in this retainer in this example. Every time we add someone new here, it's going to be 1 towards that 20. And so everything is 5%. Until that's done. And as it updates, so if I create something new here, and let's say this is Peter B, and the objective I want to connect them to is the get 20 clients on retainer, and this is 1, and then our target is, once again, 20 here. It's going to go 5%. It's going to make that automatic math. Now, if we came back up here, this is now 30%. So if I took this away, it's going to automatically update and go 25%. Now, they say you have an objective, and you're like, I don't want to go through this whole motion where I enter someone's name, connect everything, blah, blah, blah. How do we automate this, or at least sort of reduce this process? Well, that's what templates are for. And so if you come up here on your new, and I went new retainer template, I'm going to call, immediately, it's going to know this is the current value of this is 1. The objective I want to associate with is the 20 clients on retainer, and the progress is 5. So this is just in relation to that. But instead of me having to do it one by one by clicking these fields, I can create a template again, whatever that task may be, that automatically adds to that overall thing. So I need something to title this. This would still be like, Peter B. But instead of me having to click in, everything is done for me. And this is 30% now. So this will always relate to that if you do that. So this needs the progress bar to show you this formula specifically. Again, not to get too much into it, is looking at this progress, and it's reading it and goes, it's out of 100. Out of 100%, how close are you to that goal? It's reading it and knows it's 30% to 100. And this is what it looks like full. This is what it looks like empty. And as it goes along, it fills it in bit by bit by bit. But in this instance, again, we see two 30%. We don't really need to see it twice. So once again here, you need to have this so the formula works, but you don't need to visually see it. So again, I would come over here. I'd go to properties. I would then click off progress, and then would just see that visual bar. So it's still looking for that thing, but visually you're not seeing anymore. And I can do that again through any database here. I can take any column and just hide them. So we just get everything we want to see, which is really nice. So again, here's your key results for that. So again, the goal in this instance was to get 20 clients on retainer. Here are the things that are related to that goal. Here's how close we are to finishing that goal. Here's what we hope to finish that goal by. So let's say March 2nd. And if you go back to the results specifically, we can see again all those things we said and who those clients are. So say one of the goals is to sign up, say, Salima Huffman. This is the client. So I'm going to link it to that database. So again, if I click in here to clients and click on Salima, the task you can see here, one task associated with Salima was to sign them up. So this is more of an internal thing I like as well. But
Selma.
So, I said Salima again because I'm running with that now. I'm just committed to Salima and mispronouncing Salima or Selena. And I don't know. I can't. I guess.
Selma, I hope you're okay with it. You've been renamed Salima and sometimes Selma and sometimes Selmar.
uh, uh, Shihab Mohammed is in the chat, and he said, "Hello there. Is Salima and Selma? Is Salima and Selma? And great. So thank you for joining us. I see your comment there, but yes, thank you for pointing out this mispronunciation adventure that I'm in. So again, so just to go recap again, we have again, here's in relation to this overall reaching goal, we have our sub goals, and then we have a formula that calculates how close we are to finishing that goal. And then if we want to add, I add this relationship to, here was to sign somebody up. Here's the actual profile. We can kind of create things as things go on, right? I can come in here, I can create a new tab, and I can change this to whatever I want. I can make this a person. I can make this a related database. I can make this another formula. So just because something exists a certain way, the great thing is, again, this is the whole modularity I keep on talking about, is that you can keep on building on top of things. It's not limited to this. So if you found this sort of works for you, like, I like the way this goes, but I need to add this onto, I need to add another section onto this because now there's something else that's a pivotal piece of information to my overall task here, or what I want, you can easily add that as well. And just like I did with, I'm going to call her Selma now. I'll try to respect the actual spelling. This would now show up in Selma's profile, right? I can easily hide this, or I can delete this. If I was to delete this property, it would then delete it. Let's just see what that looks like. Are you sure? Yeah, okay, I'm sure. Boop.
Go wild.
Go wild. As you can see, now that's gone. So you saw before there was that relation there. Now again, let's see if I can undo it here with Command Z. Maybe not in this instance. So you have to go, but I can easily create that again. I can easily come in here. I can choose, this is the default one, is always going to be text when you create a new field. If I change this to, again, relation, and I want to connect it to a database, and so this is for clients, let's say. So I'm going to look for, I've typed this NC clients. Boop, clients. And now we've created that relation. And now this is default going to say column, but we're going to rename this column to clients. I'm going to once again click in, and voila, there's Selma, aka Salima, aka I forgot who the third person we said was, but we got it back. She's back. She's back. It's great. So there you have it again. So you saw again, if I click back into now Selma, you'll see that this is.
I think I can't hear this name anymore.
Yeah. Okay. I'll move on from this lady. Let's call it this lady now. And it will say related to, when you default there, it will say related to, this is results. So key results, Peter B. I'm going to come in here, and I can also rename this property and say, whatever I want.
How did Peter B get in this situation?
So Peter B got in this situation because I, unfortunately, connected the client here to Peter B. That was not what I meant to do. What I meant to do was get this lady, we'll call her again. This is who she is, she who shall not be named anymore. Click into this field. I clicked in the wrong field, is what happened. And then I'm going to, so now when I click on her through here, related to sign up, you know who. So, so now when you default and when you make a new relation property and you follow that connection like I just did, it's always going to default to related to and then the name of that database. So I can come in here and I can rename this to tasks again, and it won't rename the database behind it. Just every time now when there's something connected for a client, it will always show in the client tab. It'll always show it as a task. So just to reiterate again, when you create this column new and then you click in, the default will be, it will say related to, and then the name of that database. You can then rename that. And then every time you now add a client in here, it will like say, here's Rachel. We can talk about Rachel. Again, just because for some reason it's sluggish. If I click in here, it says again tasks. So because I renamed it before in the other profile, it's always gonna know this is gonna be called tasks because I've chosen to call that or whatever you want once you rename it once in relation to that database. So again, here we have, it's cool when you look in, you can say, okay, this is a prospect. This is the contracts you have. These are the projects you have on the go. So again, a good top view of who this client is or what this project may be and everything related to those things. You can get a nice, really kind of scrollable view. Or again, you can just click on it and then click into the name and then it will take you to the card. And then you can either click the back button, or if you're in here, you can just click into the area and it will take you back to this. Click out again. You get the idea. So again, to recap again, we've made a formula that tells us how close we are to a goal that we've set. In this instance, we set the goal up here. We want to be 20. This is the progress. This is the target. This is the how close we are to that target in this instance. And every time we add something new, it automatically calculates how close you are to that goal. So again, think of it as well with projects, right? You may have several things you need to do with a client that you automatically set up. And I'm gonna kind of rush ahead to show you what that looks like more towards what I want it to be for you. This section I've called inviting collaborators into your workspace. Now we've kind of already gone over that in terms of how to sort of, when I added you to be part of it, this is a little visualization of that. And now let's skip ahead to, just before I go there, here's a project. You're going to assign it to somebody as you saw before, how close you are to finishing that project. You get the idea. So now we're going to go into like a dashboard. This is where I kind of really wanted to get to with you. And that is click in here. And I've kind of created a bit of a dashboard. So bear with me because it looks really wonky in this mode. Is this in wide mode? This is full width. I guess because as well, if I stretch this out, 1 second, this is why this looks, bear with me. Is that going to change it? And this may get smaller in the webinar, but the whole goal here is to, let's drag this out. Okay, so here we have all that information that we edited previously. Now now here's a good example of how kind of to like repurpose it into what it would be. So say this was your dashboard. So I want to say like every day you'd come to this potential dashboard, you can pretty it up any way you want. I got your logo up here. You can add a whole cover image if you want on top of this as well. You can make this anything you want. You can link, you can upload an image. There's specific dimensions that kind of work really well. You can link, you can just put a URL to an image. You don't have to always upload things. That's one thing I really like about Notion is that you can link URLs for images. So handy. And again, if you have a URL of an image, you can come and you can then paste it into like one of these pages and it will automatically say, do you want to embed this? Or do you want to just create it as like a link, or do you want to make it an embed? So instead of you having to come up kind of access those blocks I was showing you before, it's smart enough to realize what is a URL and what you can do with it. So an image URL versus like a regular URL, and go from there. So in this instance, I'll leave this dashboard thing up just so you can see what that would look like. You can remove it. I also want to mention is I'm in this dark mode, which I prefer to use, and shield your eyes because you can easily change it to like a brighter mode, which is maybe more on brand with what you're doing. So whatever your preference is, when you are in the web version's default is usually bright mode, especially if you're sharing a page with somebody, they're going to see it in this mode as well. If they go on Mac, it's Command-Shift-L, or on PC, it's Control-Shift-L, and that changes between dark mode and light mode. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a really fun little
changed mine.
Yeah, tidbit to know. And I like it's easier on the eyes with dark mode. I guess that's always the intention.
Yeah.
And go from there. So as you saw here, all this information live updated. Everything we worked on the previous page is kind of here. So here's kind of like a traditional sort of setup for board. So what do you need? You need your calendar. Maybe you want to have your overall objectives for the week. And then what projects do you have on the go, right? And because everything's related and connected together, when you update one thing, it's going to show and reflect across all these boards because it's all connected, which is really kind of handy to have. So here I have, again, it's listed by projects I'm working on. And So we have this card view here, and we want to know, again, what are the attributes I want to make sure I see? I want to make sure that, wait a second, that, I know what client is there. I want to know who it's assigned to. I wanted the due date, not the due date, but the due date, and the progress, how far I am on that, and how close I am to finish, maybe, so maybe the progress bar is actually not really needed. I'd rather have the percentage bar, and then the tasks. Maybe the tasks, I said task 1, task 2, task 3 here, but you may not need to see that in this view. Again, customizable, whatever works for you. But here's our overall objective. Now, say every week there's a new challenge for you, right? Netanya, like you got something new to do. What is your agenda for the week? We can kind of come up here and we can customize this filter to show you any task or due date that you've set that is within the next week. So this field can automatically update with everything within a certain date range. So you're not going to see past projects if you don't want to. If you want this to completely be everything you see that is due that week, this will automatically be smart enough to recognize that as long as you have set the date that it is due or that you want to work on it, it will automatically come up here and filter this by that but by this filter. This due date is within the next week. So, or again, past month, past year, the filters they're pretty good. Sometimes you have to get to formulas because you can go even further with filters in terms of how it shows it. Again, I'm not going to cover that now because it's a bit more, but I just want to give you a general overall idea of how you kind of create a filter where it automatically will always show you, if you want a date, is it on a certain date? Is it on or before a certain date? Just making sure that you're always being aware of the tasks you have on the go, because I'm sure you journal and you have a calendar your own certain way and you're used to your rhythm. But it's nice to always be reminded that everything you see here in this instance will always happen between what you have to do between now and next week, always. So I think that's really cool. And then here again, here's projects on the go. So again, this is the same information kind of explored in different ways. This is NC projects. This is also projects as well. So here's again an instance where we want 2 views of the same database. And we can kind of create a new project in here. So now I'm going to show you that sort of template I had made really quickly because I know that we're kind of probably crunched for time, but I want to create a new project. So here you have a new project and I click on new. It's going to open a new card. I'm going to click on this little template I had made. In a second, it's going to load something. So first of all, it's how close. It's always going to have a status bar. And so you can always check the progress of that. And let's call this project, new project for who. I don't know why. she shall not be named. Don't.
My latest
X-nay on the Voldemort A. Okay.
Thou shall not be named.
Yeah.
Like a little wand emoji.
Exactly.
Horcrux.
Yeah.
I'm renaming the latest Horcrux and like doing the remarketing on.
Okay, so when I type in magic to emojis, this is what comes up. So let's just call this female A.
What comes up if you type in Horcrux?
Nothing will come up. I promise you. If this would come with the magic,
are you sure?
I'm positive.
Try it out.
Okay, here's what I'll do. Okay, I'm gonna go behind the scenes and I'm gonna actually type in. Is there like a universal image for Horcrux?
What about just like Harry Potter? What comes up if you?
Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to show you. Actually, you bring me to a good point. Let's say Harry Potter. Okay, okay. You can't see in the background. I'm doing this right now.
Do you think Voldemort ever goes just by Mort?
You know what? In his younger days, I like to think he did, and then it's just too many people said it, and then he's like, okay, no more. But this is a good example because here I have a regular emoji, but what if you don't want it to be emoji? Like, what if you want it to be something specific? So I can once again come in here and go link. I'm going to paste a URL, and it's going to take an image. Give it a second. And there's Harry, and he's a little disgusted.
So specific.
Very specific. Harry Potter giving a stink face, and as you can see, one second here. I'm just going to click over to something. So now, new project for who. We have, again, associated here with this client here. Every time when I click that template, by the way, when I said new project, it automatically gives me a task list breakdown. And it's already going to associate these tasks here, even though nothing has been input, with this project specifically. Because I've created a filter here that whatever you type in, see that there's a little emoji of Harry with a stink face, new project for you know who, and what you have and who you have it for. So if I start creating new tasks now and say, don't talk about you know who, and went there, and you can see some project, and automatically you can see up here it's auto-populated tasks as I'm typing this in, right? And so if I complete this task, there's only 2 tasks here. So this automatically is going to go 50% done. So again, when you're with a new client and you're doing all your things, automatically with this template that I've built here, it's going to associate the tasks with that new project created. Now we can create with certain clients as well. We can do all those things out. But I thought that if you start, like, I don't know, when you start your projects with people, what's usually the order? Usually the order is, you start with the client and then you have a project with that client, and then you, I guess, establish what the tasks are for that project. I want to make sure that I'm speaking your language here, and just, I guess, take me through, if I'm a new client and coming to you, how does that onboarding process look like?
So first we go through what all the client needs, what the needs are of the client. So just generally going over what their specific objectives are. And then they give me an asset list. And then from that, I create a proposal. So I know all the elements of the project going in before I write the proposal. And then once we agree on all the terms, then I create like a spreadsheet of all the different tasks that are needed within the time frame.
Okay, so spreadsheet with tasks. So
yeah.
Okay, so I guess kind of what we created here, what I've been showing here, you can kind of see how that potentially could work in the system as well, in terms of, like, so your pillars are, again, the objectives that you want for that client, the asset list, as you said, the proposals that you would do with that client, and then again the tasks you have. So let's pretend again that these tasks are, let's go through that example here. So again, in this example, the project is for you know who. That's your potential client. Your objectives. Okay, let's just say again, I've created an objectives database here. So let's just type in, if I type right and go, let's do linked database, create linked database. And then I'm going to go, I've already created and see project. Sorry, I actually got objectives. Sorry, my bad here. NC objectives. So I already created this here, objectives. And again, this is objectives to, so this is objectives to there. So let me just sort of, last thing I'll do before we log off for the time being is I want to kind of just create these pillars for you really, really quickly. So when you create this, the whole thing as well, outside of showing you all the things you can do, is that I want to leave you with something that you can use tomorrow if you wanted to. So let me just create a template for you really, really quickly and show you how I did this beyond, and then we'll wrap it up for now. So I'm going to take everything you said here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it below here so I can make sure. So when you create a new project, I'm going to come up here. I'm going to click this little arrow. I'm going to go new template. Actually, I'm going to come in here and go new project. I'm going to edit this template I already created. Okay. So it says here, you're adding a template in projects. So every time you click this template here. So again, I've had it set up here where, what do you need to know? You need to know your tasks for that client. This is already connected. Now you need to know your objectives. So let me just quickly link that objectives. One more time, and see objectives. We have our objectives field here. I'm going to quickly create a filter. And again, if I'm going fast, I'm just, because I know we're tight on time here. And I'm going to create a filter, and the filter is going to say, when the objective, when the, where is it?
What are you looking for?
key results. They're tasks. So actually, the tasks and the key results are connected here. So basically, I wanted to have this database. They're not connected here, but basically, you would go when this is look for the the templates here, new projects, project. Okay, so I've kind of, just because I know we're tight for time, I wouldn't go that. But basically, what I'm trying to create here is that every time you create a new project, it's going to give you everything you need. You've told me you need tasks, objectives, and asset lists. We can basically come in here and we can kind of create all those things already available to you that will automatically connect to that client. And you can kind of, as you saw when I first started, I came in here, I said something new, it then had it there. So basically what I'm trying to get to again is that everything you need is automatically set up for you. And all you have to do is sort of connect a few different things. And then you don't have to sort of, you don't have to sort of reach around and grab a bunch of stuff. You can already start building things for that client that are within those pillars you just told me. And they will already start contributing to those databases that we already created. So the reason why NC objective is not working, because inside here, these are related to tasks. I set this up objectives with key results as opposed to tasks in previously. But if I had gone through and I connected this database and had here, let me just quickly do that. Again, I may be speaking a bit too hieroglyphically here, just because I'm familiar and I keep forgetting what that could look like. But give me 1 second, and I just want to quickly show this before we bounce. Oh, I said formula, and what I meant to say was relation. Now I'm going to go to tasks once again and see tasks. Okay, here's our tasks for that client. I'm going to go rename this to tasks. Okay. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to go filter. I'm going to go where. There's the tasks to us. Contains. Now, I guess because it's not inside here. Well, this doesn't look good. But basically, I can set something up where this relates to this project. Where is it here? Okay. Well, again, because we're short on time, I had to figure this out. But the gist, again, is, and after this webinar, I will go through this and I will fix this for you. But basically, you'll be able to have all those pillars for when you create a new project automatically connect, and vice versa. If you connected to create a new client, you'll be able to connect them to all the other things that relate to that client as we had shown before. So I'm actually going to get rid of this, and I'm going to do this again on another time. But that is the objective here. The objective is to just have everything you need automatically pointed, and then ultimately populate the areas of which you need to be connected to. So there's a dashboard. Again, some people like to have it where they have their main things as opposed to just visually like this, like click-through buttons. You may want to have like a direct area just that you can see those things. So you have clients, projects, and I said objectives here. Let's say, again, if I clicked on clients, it's going to take me to just the clients page. So you just have a very focused view on something if you want to see. Maybe this is too cluttered otherwise if I went to the background. So this is everything you need to know in a short view. And then specifically, you want to add things, come into its own area, add your clients, share this page with somebody, invite someone to this to work on, whatever you may be. So with that in mind, we've covered again today, kind of the basics of what makes up the fundamentals of Notion and the pillars that we have here, and then how we can build upon those and add to them going forward. So Netanya, thank you so much for letting me take you through this wild journey, or a journey of Notion. And I hope that you can better visualize kind of how it can work for you. I know that we'll continue to talk about, customizing things and what have you. But I really hope that this works out for you. And please feel free to reach out to me again if you're like, all right, I've started doing this Notion thing a bit more. How do I do that thing? I know one thing we didn't cover today that we've talked about in the past is like embedding web pages, which is really nice, right? And the ability to sort of embed something you've worked on, so you can kind of create a bit of a demo reel or just a showcase of all or portfolio of your work. You can do that as well. We didn't get around to that, but you know that you can do that as well. So maybe we'll have a part 2 when you kind of use it for a bit and you run into something and you want to do something that you aren't sure. Reach out to me, let me know how I can help, and I'll be glad to do that. But thank you so much for joining me here today, and everyone, which I don't think is that many, but enough for people who came out. I hope that you got some bit of value here. Feel free to message me, reach out in any case if you have any more questions, and we'll leave it at that. So thank you so much, and until next time, people. Bye.
Thanks.